This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
It's Mozz, it's Chaz, and we really want to be your friends. We'll be your friends until the end. It's Mozz, it's Chaz, and welcome to the JonesCast. Hey everybody!
Yeah!
Welcome back to the third and final season of the AKA JonesCast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend.
Yeah, it's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, so glad you're here as always. Tonight's episode, aka The Perfect Burger, Season 3, Episode 1, as Jessica focuses on helping the helpless, Dorothy Walker shows up at Alias to beg for help finding a missing Trish. Michael Lehman is our director of this episode. Of course, our writers, we got our Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Gaydos get our Marvel credits. And then we get our staff writer, Jesse Harris, our story editor, Jay Holtham. Restructured our rankings here. Our story editor is Jamie King. And Melissa Rosenberg, hardest working woman in show business this week, gets both a created by and a written by credit for this episode, Melissa Rosenberg. So big applause for her.
Hey, I actually used to know Jamie King. He used to do sketch comedy with our buddy Josh.
Oh wow, small world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Well, we should see if he wants to do an interview on one of our shows.
Oh yeah, I'll ask him. Why did I think of that?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I'll shoot him a line. I'll ask him.
Okay.
Right on. Awesome.
So, tonight's episode, The Perfect Burger, a phrase that, okay, as the son of a butcher, drives me nuts, but we'll get to that when we get to that scene. It's like, I'll explain why when we get to it, but.
Okay, because I'm thoroughly interested in it. Yes.
It's like, really, really high quality beef jerky. There's a certain point where like, that's not how this works. But anyway, we open up in sunny Mexico.
Fair enough. We'll get to it when we get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, sunny Mexico, where Jessica is there to retrieve a young woman who has been illegally taken from the country because her father has kidnapped her because he has, as he says, a crazy ex who did whatever he did. And here's what I'm going to say: this was this very subtle thing, but it's a beautiful thing in its own way. Is you have this scene where you almost start to feel sorry for the guy, and almost start to feel that Jessica is on the wrong side of this equation, and then he grabs her arm and basically says, don't make me get physical.
Does that make him a bad guy, though? I mean, wouldn't you do that to protect your kid?
Well, it suggests that. Well, so let me put it to you simply. Since he doesn't know who Jessica Jones is, obviously, he is looking to intimidate her with.
Right, because she's trying to take his daughter. It's all bets are off, in my opinion. I don't have time for chivalry or some sense of public perception. You're trying to take my daughter.
Well, no, but
I don't think that paints him as a bad guy. I still think she might not have done the right thing, and that's a cross she has to bear.
Well,
and that drives home the point of a hero for hire. Is he actually a hero, or is he a thug or a goon now? That is a question you have to deal with.
Well, I mean, and what it really comes down to, especially the artist says she wants to say. To me, when he grabs her arm. So, for example, in a different situation, he could have just said, well, no, you don't have a legal right to take her. And, I don't want to, basically he could have said, I don't want to fight you, but I'm not going to let you take my daughter. Make her engage the physicality. But he went right to the physicality because because he's probably an abusive guy. That's the thing. It's like, me, I'm gonna talk my way out of that. I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna say,
I think that's a big jump to make.
I don't think so. I think that is the exact jump we're supposed to make. That he is a guy who is, like I said, I think that doing that turn is important because it is to show that this guy, and what it really gets on, because when she gets back to the States as well, we see who the wife moment is, and we see that she's no better. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you were just weighing it or if you were, or if I'd lost you. Yeah, I mean, granted.
I guess
the wife we are shown is an awful person as well, and we see her as like, oh well, I'm not going to pay you, and yada yada yada, and clearly a heretic. But I do think that the father's choice to go to physicality, and then, so I do feel that, and yeah, you're right. The when we meet the wife is everything he said she was.
And the kid really wanted to stay with dad.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if I can take the kid's word for it.
Let's make a good bad guy again.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing, and you know what? Just because the father was, here's what it comes down to: the father kidnapped his child and fled the country. And if you had the argument, I had a bad lawyer. I think you had a bad lawyer because you were, you had a bad case. I totally get that sometimes you can get screwed over because you didn't take the case seriously, perhaps, or your lawyer wasn't very good, or your lawyer screwed you over, whatever. I do think that the whole point of having him grab her arm is to say that he wasn't blameless either. And I think at the end of it, what it comes down to is that this is a kid stuck between two awful parents. And that does, again, what you say, presents a situation where, is she really a hero for hire, or is she just a hired thug? And of course,
can a hero for hire be, philosophically speaking, can that be a legitimate thing, a hero for hire, or does that immediately paint you into the corner of being a thug? Because if during the middle of said mission you recognize you're on the wrong side, do you align yourself with your profit margin, or do you align yourself with some sense of duty or sense of justice,
Well, when we saw it in the last season, that very, it's how we opened up last season, was the woman wanted the proof that her boyfriend was cheating on her, and then she immediately wants to hire Jessica to kill the guy. And it's like, and she does have that moral line, that was the first episode of season 2, and she does have this moral line, and she feels bad about what happened. But at the same time, the guy shouldn't have threatened violence against her. Because, as we say, this is the Marvel Universe, and people have superpowers. And even if they didn't have superpowers,
right.
she might have been...
There was a chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, she could have had a gun, she could have known karate. Anything could have happened in this situation where when this guy is trying to show, I'm a big intimidating man, he's basically showing himself to be a dangerous person who needs to be dealt with. And of course, when Jessica tosses him,
if you would approach that situation a little differently and tried tact and imploring to her sense of justice and saying, look, you're not doing the right thing, you might have won her, but he washed away all those bits by laying a hand.
Exactly, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, there are better ways to handle a conflict, and because really, and this is the thing, is really legally, he was safe where he was. That aside from her assaulting him, and re-kidnapping the child back, he was on, as we say, on ghouls. That's what we'd call home base when I was a kid. When we played tag, we'd call it ghouls. When you got to ghouls, you were safe. He was in ghouls, and the only reason that she legally could defend herself is because he laid his hand on her, and in that way, he undoes his own case there. But that's that guy. That's the first 5 minutes of the episode. We get our viral sensation of Jess tossing a guy, and again, this goes into this idea that everyone loves the Avengers, because we even get a Captain America shout out in this. That Captain America wouldn't do this. It's like everyone's got to live up to Cap, and that I think is the central problem that she has here, is that she has to be a hero in an unsympathetic world. That essentially, this is a world not made for heroes, because unless you're fighting Thanos, you're always kind of in a gray area. When you think back to Spider-Man: Homecoming, where you have what is really a guy who is driven to his criminality because of powers that be manipulating the situation and preventing him from doing his job, doing his cleanup, because he had invested in it. And then when he turns to criminality, the Vulture, he becomes a very sympathetic villain. And once you once you see the villain's perspective, it's very hard to still be a hero. One thing I think this series will reiterate, though, is that as hard as it is to be a hero, there are true monsters out there. And that, of course, was what we got at the start of all of this with Kilgrave, which is like Kilgrave was a real monster, and every attempt he made to be sympathetic immediately evaporated within a few minutes. And I think what we're going to see with our Jessica is she is going to be trying to navigate this world of unacceptable clients and unacceptable outcomes, because that's the world she lives in.
Yeah.
Okay. Second big plot point in this is Trish is missing, and we do have her mother come to help track her down, because she basically says, Trish has gone missing, and I don't know what happened between you two. I don't know why everything fell apart. And of course, everyone says, but Trish had nothing to do with the death of your mother, which of course she did.
Exactly. Well, yeah, she comes clean though, which is interesting, at least to Malcolm.
Well, yeah. Well, exactly, to Malcolm, because Malcolm's a person that she trusts, and
right.
She does go to she goes to where Trish's place was. She, of course, knows her password to her email, and and reads her draft email to her, which comes off as really, really horrible. Like, you needed me to do that, and I'm your moral compass, and yada yada yada. And it's like, that was just not necessary on her part.
No, and speaks to how little she understands the situation, or is willing to actually see that she may have been wrong. How completely unwilling she is.
Yeah.
And which speaks to, deep down inside, she probably knows that she's guilty and doesn't want to confront that part of herself.
Mm-hmm. Although
that's what it says to me.
But what I actually think is the important thing is this is in her drafts email. So this is a stream of consciousness that she had not sent. Thought she may have had, but she never vocalized. And I think in her relation to Jessica, it is this idea that look, this is where I'm feeling, and that could have been her angry version of the email. She might have had 6 other versions, and this was just
Yeah,
one that she happened to see.
I know, but like, even in moments where we get to speak to her, she still is telling that same line. This is what she genuinely believes, or at least she's trying to get the rest of the world to jump on board with that narrative. She can hide behind it,
which is fair enough. Another plotline we're dealing with here is we do see Jerry getting out of bed and falling down. And we do know that her, I believe it's Lou Gehrig's disease, is starting to take its effects.
Yeah.
And again, this is the situation where everybody sees Jessica as the perfect monster. Because she wants Jessica to when the time comes, like, not to tell her when it'll happen, but when you see I'm bad, I'm going to trust you to make this choice for me, to slip these pills into my drink and then, murder me, which is just an insane thing to ask of somebody in general.
Indeed.
And just yeah, like I said, just awful. But she does it because.
Well, I mean, but I guess if you view it from someone's own perspective, it's a little different. She is not like a regular person. She's stronger than most people. So her perception of the world is very different. So in her mind, she's asking for someone else to be as strong as she is. And this is the only person she trusts to be able to be that. And in a way, it's a compliment. It's touching. But again, people view the world from their own perspectives and don't sometimes take into account how somebody else views the world. So to Jessica, it comes off unexpectedly in a way like she thinks she's, callous or I guess maybe they're both describing the same characteristic in a person, but they both view it very differently.
Well, but I think what you really get in this is the reality that, when she says, maybe I decided today, maybe this is where you're at.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start doing this now. And it actually is the classic assisted suicide conundrum there. I mean, that if it's not really spelled out what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it, it gets to be this. You're giving someone else this autonomy to take your life, and it may not be quite what you want once you're at that moment. Essentially that, if you really wanted to commit suicide, maybe you would have done it yourself. And that's the idea.
Right. So maybe. Mm-hmm. Maybe the good thing for her to have done in that situation would have been to say, "Hey, Jerry, I got you. I'll take care of this," and then never do it. At least it takes the burden of having to make that decision off of Hogarth's shoulders and allows her mind to sort of let go of that stress and be able to heal. And if it ever came to that, she could if she ever got disheartened by the fight against this disease, she could come in and be like, "Hey, I'm going to kill you." And that would, she's frazzled too. I don't know if she's capable of seeing that option,
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, as with everything, it's a lot more complex than we like to make it out. But at the same, I mean, from Jessica's perspective, it's just about people seeing her in one way, seeing her as, seeing as the person that they want. That and the short answer is everyone is a jerk to her until they need her. When she was going, so as an example, last season, when she was figured, okay, I'll be, Alias Investigations will be Hogarth's go-to investigation unit, and she's like, no, you don't have the skills I need. You're not prestigious enough. I'll still toss your work here and there, but you are not going to be my in-house investigators. It's going to be the guy, the guy from earlier in the season who was a jerk. So already at the start of this, you do have the situation where Jerry essentially betrays Jessica from last season, and now it's like, well, but here's a job I can give you, and it's a job that really she doesn't want, and it is, it's the difficulty of the entire thing. It's like everyone wanting something from Jessica or wanting something from anyone. And like I say, it's like what the Russo said about why the Hulk doesn't come out in Infinity War. Because the Hulk was tired of cleaning up Banner's messes. Was tired of just being the person you called when you needed dirty deeds done dirt cheap. And that is.
Oh, not so cheap.
Well, yeah. Well, hey. Yeah, I don't know the current running cost of dirty deeds, but.
Well, all I'm saying is when he comes out to do dirty deeds, there's a whole lot of collateral damage. So
you mean Malcolm?
It's far from cheap. As a matter of fact, it's dirty deeds done quite. Well, no, I mean the Hulk.
Oh, the Hulk. Okay.
When the Hulk comes out to do his dirty deeds, there's a whole lot of collateral damage. I don't know if you could say those dirty deeds. Those are pretty expensive dirty deeds.
Yes. Although, along those same lines, Malcolm does some dirty deeds in this.
Oh, and he's so good at it.
Well, I mean, but you see, man, and again, it's this question of morality. We have this. So we see Malcolm as basically the fixer for several of Hogarth's clients, where when they get themselves in a pickle, they call up Malcolm directly, and Malcolm comes and he makes the problem go away. And in this case, it is a drunk driver who has rammed his Escalade into a pedestrian, and I think into a tree after that. And, the guy's, like, look, that is, I know who that is. That's, this, rookie phenom, making $1 million, just signed a $1 million a year contract with the Yankees or some such, and he needs to be taught a lesson because he's driving completely plastered down the street. And what Malcolm says is, you're not going to win. And I love how upfront he is about everything. He's like, look, you see that car? That's your car now, And he says, no, you're not stealing the car. We're going to sign the car over to you. You're going to take it to this place in Chinatown. Tell them Malcolm sent you. They're going to fix your car. Which, honestly, not for nothing, that seems kind of risky because it's like, every time I get my car broken, I'm just going to go there. Oh, Malcolm sent me. But the idea is
right.
that, Malcolm, has the car fixed, gives the guy the car to make the problem go away. Now, granted, in this case, the guy seemed to be okay. It didn't seem like an ambulance needed to be involved for this guy. He could drive that car out of there. I'm not sure how well that car was going to drive, honestly, because it looked like it might have had a cracked radiator, and you can't drive a car with a cracked radiator. I know from past experience. You really need that radiator working. You got to know how to drive a car that's got a busted radiator if you're going to try and drive it anywhere. Cars don't like that. But but he does that, and then later in our episode, we see Malcolm basically end this ball player's career. Yeah. You never know. He might have been able to come back from that. Nowadays, these guys get these injuries all the time, and come back from them. There's an investment, and so without a doubt, he is mad at everything. He is mad about how many pieces of his soul he's had to sell. And that's what it comes down to. Is like, you don't sell there's a great Twilight Zone about this billionaire who he's old and he just feels like there's no challenges left in his life, and the devil approaches him to give him this opportunity to have one last grand adventure, and basically says, "Oh, what, you want my soul?" And he says, "No, we already have your soul." It's like, yeah, we got the first part of your soul at this time, and then the bulk of the controlling interest in your soul transferred to silver when you know.
Yeah, no, that's it. I didn't even consider that point, but that is interesting. The other thing that I thought here was like, oh, he thinks he's on a mission to do good, but he's really not. He's basically trying to squelch out his conscience by pretending to do something quote unquote good. He's really angry at himself for being in this spot.
Closed that plant and laid off 1,000 people. We don't want your soul. We just want your money. It was a really, I believe it's called Lacey.
Yeah.
I think of Overton, or the small town he grew up in. Back at the turn of the century. So this was the 60s. But anyway, yeah, he is selling his soul piece by piece, and he feels maybe this is going to get him his soul, a little bit of his soul back. That if he can be a punisher of this guy, and honestly, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing he was smart enough to make sure this card was untraceable back to him. You know, and honestly, not for nothing, I don't know how he does that. We are really particular about cars in this game.
Yeah.
Like, unless he actively jacked the car, um, and then again, hoping that just stealing that car doesn't lead it back to him in some way, yeah, it's pretty clear that he rammed this guy to take him out to teach him the lesson he needed to be taught, but at the same time, he's not, this doesn't balance his scales for Malcolm. Trish, we don't get a lot of her in this episode, but we do see her at the end when Jessica essentially thinks she's saving her,
Right.
because she breaks into this guy's apartment, and Jessica bursts in the window when the guy pulls his gun.
Yeah.
And they do have their big fight, which winds up with Jessica at a bar, at her bar, where she gets hit on about the guy with the perfect woman.
Right, and it's kind of also mirroring the same feelings that Trish is going through.
Next episode, yeah. Well, let me see. Okay, so first off, this guy, he's got the confidence. He's got the confidence, and he's got the You know what it is? Is he's got the confidence of a guy who doesn't care if he gets laid or not. Here's the thing you have to understand about hamburger meat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hamburger meat is meant to be lower cuts of meat with fat mixed in, so as to create a proper marbling through the grind. It's like you don't grind up a sirloin, and well, you can do it, but you usually use chuck beef, you can do ground sirloin, because not all sirloin is like good sirloin, but the whole point is when you say you're gonna take like this much brisket to this much thing, it's like that's not how hamburgers work. Okay,
No, I think also the way somebody like her communicates. When she, throws a jab at him, some guys would take it as get lost. For him, it's the opening salvo, and he needs to communicate back with her in her language that she's choosing to engage you with. And some people wouldn't have seen the opportunity. He sees the opportunity and engages her in the dance she wants to dance.
Well, no, but this is the thing, is that the point isn't proven by this. Because what you did is, okay, so you just took perfectly good brisket and you made it into dog food. Okay. It might be delicious dog food. No, actually, but that's actually the point, is it's not. It's literally not. So essentially, and if you go to the grocery store and you buy a hamburger, you'll see it's written on the hamburger. This is an 85 hamburger. This is a 70. This is a 70-30, an 85-15, a 90-10, a 95-5. You can even find, and that's actually really good hamburger. You can get that at BJ's.
Well, obviously that's not, the starting point of hamburger, but every artistic expression, every food, every dish has ways that it can be elevated to grotesque levels just to prove a point sometimes. You can say, hey...
well, no. I'm not saying I'm not saying you can't make a better burger. What I'm saying is the cut of meat is irrelevant. Now, there is one saving grace when he says it's a coarse grind, which means you are going to get a little bit of the natural marbling left from the hamburger. But honestly, that also just means basically it's, whether you're doing a fine grind or a coarse grind, what makes a burger is its fat to meat content and having the flavor of the fat put into the meat.
Well, no, don't you think the burger would be right? No, but don't you think that would be a better experience as a burger if you were willing to be flippant and careless to the point of just saying I'm so luxurious, I don't care, blah blah blah. But that burger is going to be better. No, the one thing I didn't. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you can. This is my, and this is kind of my thing about, like, there's a pretension to it, which even if you can say, here's the thing, even if you're going to say he made a good burger, using a fancy cut of meat in a hamburger, it's like using a fancy cut of meat in beef jerky. Once you decide I'm going to jerkyize it, once you decide you're going to turn it into sausage, that cut of meat is no longer as important, because what makes a cut of meat a good cut of meat is that it is naturally marbled in a certain way, that its meat to fat content meets a certain criteria that you're looking for in this cut of meat. Once you grind it.
No, but you can't tell me that when I bite a burger that is chuck meat versus biting a burger that somebody has carefully sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Curated the mouthfeel, curated the texture.
No, it will not, because you're tasting the Coke. Okay, Mozz, I'm sorry. Once you mix a liquor with a soda, you are tasting the soda with a little bit of alcohol mixed in. Yeah, okay. What you can say is you can make a.
But if that meat tastes more beefy, you can't argue with that, can you?
I mean, unless you're using like the new cherry whiskeys they have and all the fancy sugar whiskeys that they're selling. But no, it's I would say you would be very hard pressed if I poured you a Jack and Coke and a Fleischmann's Coke. Fleischmann being a low-grade well whiskey, very nice well whiskey. Don't mind you. I love Wilson's. That's one of my favorite whiskeys. That's one of the cheapest whiskeys on the market. Or Heaven Hill bourbon versus Jim Beam Black. Well, no, but okay. So, and There are
Yeah,
actually
but
scientific
that's like
studies
saying, that's like
that
saying any
people react to the
bourbon
label
and Coke or any whiskey
more
and
than the
Coke is the
drink.
same as
So that
having a
they've
Jack and
taken
Coke
actual
or
professional wine
like a
connoisseurs
whiskey and ginger is the same thing no
and
matter what
given them the
whiskey you
blind
use. If you
taste
use a better
test,
whiskey, it's going to
and
be a better
they could
drink.
not
That's all I'm
pick
saying. The
out
ratio might still be
because,
the same.
or no. It was that they put just basic rock cut wine in a fancy bottle, and they judge it on
Hmm.
the fact that it was a fancy bottle, not the fact that it was a rock cut wine. Now, and granted, I'm sure it was a
Sure.
perfectly
No, but
decent
you can
cover. It was like,
taste the whiskey
some,
through a whiskey and
early
Coke, though. You can
vintage
taste
California
the
where it
wood.
was
You can
just,
taste the
redfish,
sweetness, and there's there's an aspect
livingly
to it, and
sound,
it is different.
but that the people read the labels. So when you say I'm ordering a Jack and Coke, or I'm ordering and that's the thing, is like once you've mixed it with the Coke,
No, no,
you're
no,
not
no,
drinking the whiskey
no,
anymore. You're
no,
drinking the Coke,
no.
and this is just a little. And I'm going to tell you, to answer your question, Mozz, yes, someone's going to tell you that's a better drink, and that is me. Okay, but you know what? What you're
Yeah,
accepting
I guess
is the
I
idea
guess
that
it is what it is.
you're
I just think
what
there's
you
room
are
for
experience what we call the
the
Shiva
most of
Sangala
something.
effect,
I think there's
or the
room for
Shiva
that,
Sangala
and
effect,
and
which
if
is
you're saying
that you're buying it because someone told you it was fancy.
hmm
To get back to the show, I'm sorry, Maz. So then there's a knock at the door, and again, I gotta give this guy props because he is like totally playing hard to get, which is the way you have to play a character like you have to be with a woman like Jessica. You have to be playing hard to get the whole time.
right,
Yeah,
right. No, I can buy that.
letting her know she's in control because because she needs to feel that, and that's fine. And there's this knock on the door, and they make the comment that it's probably the kid from upstairs, yada yada yada. And she goes to answer the door, and a guy stabs her,
No,
like just straight up
no one is going to
drives
tell
it
me
right
that's not a
into her,
better drink than a well whiskey and Coke.
upper abdomen, and
We'll
takes
have to.
off.
Well, yeah, well, fair enough.
And
Yeah,
she passes.
no, welcome to. I'm gonna have to agree to disagree here. I think
True, true,
there's
true.
all the room in the world for
Someone,
somebody to be artistic and curate every moment of me
someone
with that
takes that
burger.
out,
I am happy to accept. I
and
think that's a
they run
wonderful thing.
off, and Jessica, you know,
Mm.
goes down, and
Right.
that's how we leave this episode.
Yeah. Well, no, I think.
Um, I really love how this
Maybe,
episode
but I
went. I
also
really
think that I
love
think
this
it's
season
incredibly
as
prideful
a
to
whole
not
concept.
admit that there would be a
I
difference
think
or that
every
somebody
scene
could
in this
taste
is
a
really
difference.
powerful and really
That's it.
good,
But anyways,
and I'm
to
really
get back to
excited
the show.
about getting the rest of
Right.
this season under our belts because it was really, really good. And Vito. Who's Vito?
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
Yeah.
did
Right.
she
No,
even
well,
ever?
it's about letting her make the first move.
Oh yeah, she
Right.
was. Oh, and hey, let's give a. Yeah. Oh yeah, we love the new secretary. She
Right.
is great. She is a just a brassy woman, uh, full of her own self, and I do love seeing that in this episode. See if they give us her name here. Uh, uh, I don't know exactly who she is off of this list of people, but she is awesome. Our new secretary,
I will say this:
who
we don't
does not
definitely know that it's a guy.
does not give
That's all I'm gonna say.
does not give
Right.
Jessica one bit of solace,
Mm.
and that is what Jessica needs. People who push back. That's what's great. I think we also had a little bit with we did get Detective Costa back. He's going to be a recurring character in our storyline, and I do like that.
Yeah.
Detective Costa is still working with her,
Yeah.
and I like that. Yes, exactly. You know,
Was that the
Except
conversation
he's like the veteran. Where
with
Mahoney
Vito?
has
Was it in
always
this
been, like,
episode
the
or is it the
rookie
next one?
who is trying to prove himself. He's kind of
The kid. The kid from downstairs.
Mahoney's the rookie who kind of
No, it's this episode because she has him pick which case she wants to take on. Right, and we meet her new secretary. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, so final thoughts on tonight's episode? Well, we will all see that. In the meantime, of course, you can always write to me at old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Pods wants to do at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and anything else I feel like when the shows come back, because right now we got a lot of stuff on hiatus except for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Ping.
There you go. All right. How do we end this show? We say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to another episode of the AKA JonesCast. Just know that me and Mozz really want to be your friends. Good night.